Nigeria is one of the largest oil-producing countries in the world. In fact, it's America's fourth largest supplier of oil. In total, they export over 780 million barrels a year. But they also have a massive problem with oil spills. Last year alone, there were 194 spills in the Niger Delta. And over the last 50 years, more than 10 million barrels of oil have polluted the region. That's approximately one Exxon Valdez spill every year. Now it seems like everyone is blaming everybody else. The locals are blaming the oil companies, and the oil companies are blaming pirates. So we sent Sarush Alvi to find out A, why there are so many spills, and B, exactly who is responsible.
Oil companies have been drilling in the Niger Delta for half a century, sometimes resulting in devastating economic and environmental effects on local communities. For years, Elder Friday Akpan, a successful fish farmer and local community leader, has been fighting Shell in court at The Hague. So he did something that had never been done before and sued Royal Dutch Shell in their own country. And this past January, after a 5-year-long court battle, the verdict came in. The court ruled in Elder Friday's favor and determined that Shell was liable for the count of not better protecting the pipeline from oil theft and vandalism, which ultimately led to the spills.
Were you surprised that the verdict came in your favor?
I was not surprised, but others were surprised hearing a black or a Niger Delta man took Shell to court and Hague and won the case.
But in reality, it's a small win in a large war. Since oil was first discovered in Nigeria in 1956, over 500 spill-related lawsuits have been filed in Nigerian courts, and only a handful have received compensation. We wanted to find out what Shell had to say about these environmental disasters that they call operational spills.
Frankly, if you look at what I would consider to be operational spill, it's a very, very tiny proportion. The worst pollution is coming from sabotage spill, from illegal refineries, and crude oil theft.
So what he's claiming is that most spills are caused by pirates, guys who illegally hack into the Shell pipeline, steal the crude oil, refine it into gasoline somewhere in the jungles of the Niger Delta, then sell it across West Africa. Shell estimates that it loses between 55 and 60 million barrels of oil every year due to oil piracy, costing them $7 billion a year. We wanted to learn more about these pirates, so we went out on patrol with the guys that hunt them.
We are getting on board.
Okay.
Yeah, not too far away.
Okay.
Where we have a lot of arrested vessels there.
These guys are the JTF, a joint military task force that patrols the Delta here in Nigeria.
They are very intelligent guys and they plan their operations very, very well. So we have to be extra smart to be able to catch them. Yeah.
The JTF have their work cut out for them, patrolling an area roughly the size of Ohio, consisting mostly of mangrove swamps, dense jungles, and very little infrastructure.
Every day they're arresting people. Like, you keep grabbing people, and then the next day there's like new refineries and new oil thieves.
Along the river, we saw half-sunken ships that had been attacked and destroyed in previous raids. Because of these spills, the World Health Organization estimates that the drinking water in the Niger Delta has 900 times as much benzene as is deemed safe to consume.
We've been cruising through an oil spill for about 20 minutes now. We were cruising along, and I looked to my right and saw all the dead trees. But the problem here in the Niger Delta is that they're not really cleaning up these oil spills.
We never found the pirates or the refineries that we were looking for with the JTF, so we went out on our own. The first thing I noticed was the impoverished conditions that people were living in. In rural areas like this, 1 in 5 children dies before the age of 5.
As we're walking, you see like just power lines everywhere that don't work. There's the river. They do everything in it. They bathe in it, they wash their clothes in it, but they're getting sick from it as well.
We spend every year close to $250 million directly or indirectly on community development projects. But if you look at the scale of the developmental needs in the Delta, only government can really plug that hole.
It's hard to know how the $250 million is spent, or if government neglect is to blame, but it's clear that very little money reaches the villages. The Nigerian government did not respond to our request for an interview, but we spoke with the chief of the oil-producing town, who gave us his view of the issues.
Our people are suffering. Most of the fishes we are in the river has been damaged as a result of the rampant pollution. Shell is supposed to develop our area. Nothing has been done. But we are the host community producing 235,000 barrels daily to the federal government and Shell.
It's a very oil-rich community.
A very oil-rich community.
How many oil wells do you have
We
here?
have 21 operating oil wells, but nothing else has been done to this, our community.
If what he's saying is true, you can understand the people's frustration and resentment towards the oil companies. In fact, something was supposed to be done for the communities. But after decades of seeing minimal profit from the oil wells, a band of militant Nigerians fought back, sabotaging the pipelines and kidnapping the oil workers. The uprising was settled when Shell and the government paid off the rebels to lay down their weapons. But the local residents of the oil-producing communities saw none of this money. The locals told us that if we wanted to find the pirates, we'd have to go even further down the river.
I got you, Adolfo. Holy.
So right behind me are 3 illegal oil refineries.
It was an unbelievable sight. It's hard to imagine that buried deep in the jungle is a camp where people refine crude oil into gasoline with their bare hands. We were finally approaching the refinery, where after the oil thieves hack into the pipeline somewhere out on the delta, they fill boats with the stolen crude oil and bring it to places like this along the river.
So it really smells like oil right now. Just one guy on the side of the riverbed refining oil by himself, and it's just like coming down into the river. There's oil everywhere. It's surreal.
Mr. Rowland was our local guide through this makeshift refinery.
Okay, easy. You don't just go anyhow.
I'm gonna stick with you, buddy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It looked like hell on earth. Streams of gas and oil floating into the river and massive fires burning everywhere.
Okay, so Mr. Rowland, can you explain what this gentleman is doing?
In those drums is crude oil,
Yeah.
and the vapor comes through the pipes into this structure, condenses the vapor that drops as kerosene. This is where the fuel, that is petrol, kerosene, diesel, comes out.
Everything. And this guy can do everything.
Yeah, they all will come out from here.
These guys make between $60 to $70 a day doing this. It isn't a fortune, but it's a far cry from the $1 a day the majority of Nigerians survive on.
It's crude, it's rudimentary, but they're succeeding
Yeah.
in doing what they need to do.
Yes.
It just doesn't meet certain safety standards. What is this? What am I standing in?
This is the waste, the leftover, which is tar. You know, it's a mushy environment.
It's the best way to describe it. It's a mushy environment of waste.
In order to get the chambers to heat up enough to vaporize, they dump crude oil directly onto the fire.
Control your fire.
That is... It's so hot that it's pushed me back and I almost fell back into the tar.
Oh, when you smoke too much now, be at a safe distance. This vapor might catch fire.
Okay.
So stay away.
This could catch fire?
Yeah. Let's stay at a distance.
Yes, sir. So Mr. Rowland is making me a bit nervous. I mean, frankly, I'm a little nervous right now.
When this thing catches fire, the whole area is engulfed. all of us will be running helter-skelter here. I have an oil well right on my land, but I don't know how many barrels of oil per day is drilled from my own soil. If an oil well is found on your land in America, you become a millionaire or billionaire, isn't it? But the reverse is the case. You become a very poor man. You don't have anywhere to farm. You look at this young man that is passing.
Yeah.
What he does here feeds his family. That is the basic fact.
And all the oil companies, they had to make promises of investment and development. So did they not do anything?
Nothing. That is why you see these things happening.
Yeah. How much animosity is there towards the oil companies?
Very much. Very much. That was why our boys took up arms against the oil companies.
And how stable is the peace right now?
It's just like we are on a keg of gunpowder. Anything can happen. It's just a ticking time bomb.